The Ministry of Education has announced it will begin distribution of $15,000 Because We Care cash grant and the $4,000 uniform allowance for children in the public education system. Parents can expect cash grants for their children from this week. Each child in the public school education will receive $19,000.
Public school children are eligible for this grant. Nursery, nursery 1, nursery 2, grades 1 to 6, 7 to 10, and the second year of CAPE. Once the first year CAPE students come into the system, sometime October, November, whenever CXC results come out, we'll give them the grant also, but that would be later in the year. We asked and we had to have a cutoff date. We're dealing with cash, we're dealing with money, we have to know how much to cater for. So across the country, we told parents of nursery age children that through the schools and through the regions that they needed to be registered by the 30th of June. That's the latest date we could have taken it to because we're beginning the program on the 14th of July. So even if students' names are not on the register as yet, but their parents had taken in the application form, by the 30th of June, they will get this grant. So that's who is eligible. Then who can pick up the grant? Parents, guardians, or anyone duly authorized by the parent or guardian. Someone sent me a Facebook message last night to say she was out of the country and she wondered if her cousin could pick it up. And so I answered to say yes, you have to authorize her. If there's, because we have some of that unfortunately, where the parents are separated or divorced, the parent who would be most entitled to the grant would be the parent in whose custody the child is, unless that parent gives the other parent or someone else permission and authorization to receive the grant.
The ministry will publish a scheduled date for the release of cash grants on its Facebook page and in local newspapers. The minister said, quote, parents or guardians are to visit the respective schools of the scheduled date to uplift the grant. If a parent or guardian fail to uplift the grant on the scheduled date, they will be allowed to do so at a later date at the Department of Education or that region or education district. End quote. Those uplifting the grants will be required to present a valid form of identification. The ministry is working to complete distribution of 2 grants before the new school year begins in September. The minister said the grant is in anticipation of the reopening of schools.
We are looking to restart school by September. I mean, we can't say definitively at this point that we absolutely will, but the intention, strong intention, is to restart. All the reports around the world coming out of all the professional bodies, health as well as education, are saying very clearly that the world needs to get back to face-to-face learning as quickly as possible, or we're going to suffer long-term consequences, adverse effects. And so this is to put parents in a position to be ready for September.
Minister of Education Priya Manichan said the government intends to continue to increase the Because We Care cash grant incrementally each year until it reaches $50,000.
We know that it's great to have fancy schools and trained teachers and furniture to sit on and other resources in the school, but it's very important also for parents to feel like they can look after their children, for parents to have some dignity in whether they can outfit their children and give them the requisite pencils and rulers and so on that they need. And people could use a hand up, a leg up. So parents generally in Guyana make great sacrifices to get their children out to school. There are some exceptions, but for the most part, and we thought we wanted to give a hand.
The school uniform and supplies grant will not be given in the form of a voucher, but rather as cash and only will be distributed to parents of students in public schools.
Public expenditure will not be used on private education except for some broad areas. We train teachers at the Teachers Training College, and it's those teachers that go into private education, many of them. We create syllabi and curriculum and do all kinds of training in and around those documents that private schools benefit from. So children going to private schools benefit from those. So we do offer quite a lot of our service to private schools. We don't give private schools traditionally. We have never given private school children textbooks. We have not given private school children this grant. We don't give private school children the uniform grant. So our policy in Guyana is that the state does not fund private education, and children who are benefiting from private education, whose parents have chosen that for them, that is one of the consequences. That's not to say I'm unsympathetic to the parent who says, I'd like to get this grant. Who wouldn't? It's $19,000. Of course, we'd all like to get it. But the policy of the country right now is that private schools do not benefit from public financing.
The program totals $3.2 billion and will assist about 172,000 children and families across Guyana. For Channel 2 Headline News, Esther Sobers.